have a quorum.
Do we have a quorum?
We have a quorum. We have Cliff and Neil, Noel, Mike, and Sean.
Oh, go.
So we're good. And we have someone there I don't know, number one. I don't know who that is. Okay. It being the evening of February 10th, Wednesday, February 10th, and a quorum of members present, I'll call the meeting of the Conservation Commission to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 superseding order for certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted at this meeting. Board members will participate in this meeting remotely as this meeting will be accessible to the public via the Zoom online option. Information and instructions are available at the town website. Moving forward in this meeting, the chair instructs the meeting administrator to withhold access to speak at the meeting until or unless such persons requesting to speak are visible on screen and respectfully request such access. Okay. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuation of public hearings in accordance with the Mass Wilderness Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. And the Bellingham Wetlands, hold on. And the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw on the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation to confirm the delineation of bordering vegetated wetlands, intermittent stream and perennial stream with associated bank and bank to a pond on a 120-acre site located at Assessor's Map 95, Parcel 37, 180 Payne Street, Bellingham. Eric Diaz, Strong Point Engineering Solutions, Manley Street, West Bridgewater, has submitted the filing on behalf of Ron Mondry, Active Adult LLC, South Porch Drive, Mashpee. The continuation will be held at the evening of January 10th at 7. Okay. Due to the significant amount of snow cover and the continuing progress of the storms as they march across our country, the applicant is in no great hurry to commence the review of the wetland line and has requested a continuation. He's requested a continuation to the evening of March 10th at 7. I'll entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Sean?
Second.
Mike? Discussion?
What was the date again?
It'll be
March 10th.
March 10th, Wednesday, March 10th at 7.
2021, right? He's not going to wait for it to thaw out till 2022? Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just inform the commission that as we know from the last hearing, the applicant's representative had suggested that maybe we could have a peer review done for this. So we reached out to BSC for a peer review quote, and we received that. That was sent off directly to the applicant. I reached out to the applicant's representative, I think 3 times, most recently yesterday, when they had requested a continuation to ask if there was something that we could do to move this along. They had requested a continuation to our next meeting, which was February 24th. Is that what it was? Obviously with all the snow cover, that nothing was going to be done at that time. So they did suggest that maybe we continue to March 10th, and they hope to have everything in process by that point in time. So that's a little bit of background on that particular hearing.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Hearings continue to the evening of March 10th at 7. Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold public hearings in accordance with the Mass Works Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 130.1, Section 40, the Bellingham Works Protection Bylaw, and the notice of intent for the proposed drainage improvements to the existing interconnection and discharge of the Lakeview Estates and Silver Lake Road drainage systems located within a 100-foot buffer zone, the Assessor's Map 68, and Lot 10 at the intersection of Candlelight Lane and Silver Lake Road, Bellingham. Robert Poxon here in Howland, Milford, Mass. has submitted the filing on behalf of the Bellingham Department of Public Works, 26 Blackstone Street, Bellingham, and Salem Traders Way, BLT, Quarry Drive, Milford. The continuations will be held on the evening of February 10th at 7:10, online via Zoom. Okay. I see Sean Malone is here. Okay. So at our last hearing, Sean presented some alternatives to the design that he had created with the thought of even improving further the drainage situation at Candlelight and Silver Lake Road. And I think the commission was unanimous in its consensus that he should proceed with that. And Sean has done that. So now Frank has not had an opportunity to respond to your response to his peer review, but I've looked, the commission has looked at it. And so I can, at some point, maybe let you know what our thoughts are. So if you want to make the presentation, Sean.
Absolutely. And if I may share my screen.
Of course.
Let's see here.
It should be available. It should be available.
Okay, here we go. So this is the revised plan that the chair was referring to. We briefly talked about it 2 weeks ago. And what this plan does, it expands on some of the improvements that we previously proposed, primarily adding some additional drainage within Silver Lake Road to collect overflow, which may surcharge from the basin during a 100-year storm or extreme storms, to be able to capture that through a new catch basin and pipe that down Silver Lake Road directly to the outlet to Silver Lake. And one of the thoughts in designing this was to take the burden off of this one inlet, the sediment trap that was installed, I think last year or 2 years ago, which has resulted in some surcharge during extreme storms. So the thought behind this was, again, a kind of belt and suspenders to what we previously proposed, in addition to the additional drainage pipes to convey stormwater from Silver Lake Road to the pond, from the basin, as well as from this sedimentation trap. We also revised the plan to have a check valve. It's an end of pipe treatment. This was specifically noted by Don DiMartino, something that would be more easily maintained by the town once this is the town's property. So we've added that to the plan. Additionally, we've also added the drainage profiles and sections for the main runs of from Basin C, as well as to the outlet to Silver Lake. We also just submitted today an operation and maintenance plan for this whole drainage system. That'll help ensure the longevity of the system and be able to maintain it so it operates properly. At this point, as the chair mentioned, we understand BSC hasn't had a chance to fully review this, but we did submit all the calculations in response to their previous comments. I think that's probably about it on my end right now, without some additional questions.
Okay, there was a question that our peer reviewer had relative to review of previously constructed and permitted stormwater management structures. It's the opinion of the commission that the redesign of this basin to correct the deficiencies of the previous constructs renders review of previous iterations of this structure moot. So I don't think that we'll need to have our peer reviewer take a look at what turns out to be well behind us. It's been our goal for many years to try to correct a situation that has created a lot of hardship for local residents, and to build a structure that will be able to meet and function with the increased volumes of stormwater that we anticipate 10, 20, and 30 years down the road. So that was one of our concepts, and you've actually anticipated several of our comments with the submission of the O&M plan. We have not taken had an opportunity to take a peek at that, but I know that I think Frank has some final review to do on the calcs. He and the commission will both take a look at that, but based on your previous work, I'm sure that we're going to find them adequate. If we're not, we'll rely on our peer reviewer to make suggestions as necessary. The one thing, if you could go back to the previous, to the plan itself, Sean, can you do that?
Yep, absolutely.
I know that a photograph was taken back in November showing the double catch basin collecting all the water that was coming down Candlelight Lane. I don't know what size storm that was, because I know that there were multiple officials from the town who've actually seen bypass there.
Mm-hmm.
So your construction, your proposal to construct that basin at right there at the bottom of the slope, that's the one, will address that plus the sidewalk. Yeah.
Quick question. According to the O&M plan, from what I looked at it real quickly, it looks like it's dividing the maintenance, ongoing maintenance in the future, Candlelight Lane versus Silver Lake Road. Silver Lake Road, Don DiMartino and the town take care of. Candlelight, the Association of Homeowners take care of. Is that correct?
That's correct. And until the time that the town takes ownership of Candlelight Lane.
Is that anticipated, Don, in your opinion, to be any length of time? My question is, that catch basin is right at the corner. Whose jurisdiction is it? Is it clear right from the start, or is that going to be one of those, you clean it out? No, you clean it out, and then eventually we get it all eventually, I guess.
I will clean it.
Don says the town will clean it.
Okay, that's just seeing how close it was right to the intersection there. I just thought, well, maybe I didn't realize it was going to be. I forgot that there was going to be a turnover eventually of Candlelight Lane to it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a subdivision approved by the town at some point.
And I forget whether the O&M plan has in it the checklist. Is that, Sean, is that where the checklist was for inspections of all the devices and the catch basins and so forth?
Correct.
Okay, you might want to make a note. I put it in a post. I hadn't done that before with the Dropbox that Amy provided. On the checklist, items I think 23 and 24, which is listing all the catch basins and other things that need to be cleaned out. you have 2 catch basin 7s and no catch basin 8, but the plan seemed to show a 7 and an 8 on the plan going up the hill on the road there, but it's not reflected in the, so I just thought I'd do a typo there.
Yep, you are correct, sir. Yes, number
I'd hate to see some poor
23.
inspector get, all flummoxed by seeing 2 7s and not knowing what to do.
Yep. No, yep, and we will make that correction and send the updated plan or updated O&M to you. So we do have it right on our O&M figure. We'll update the checklist.
I'll defer back to you, Mr. Chair. I got 2 more questions, but I can wait until you're done, whatever, sorry.
Okay, so my question relates to the new catch basin that you're adding to assist in the distribution of a 100-year storm event in the event that we get a surcharge. So in the event that the volume coming out of that double catch basin is too great and it bypasses catch basin, it will just go down. Actually, it will go north to the to that other emergencies. Will it go into that structure, or will it go to the regraded drain manhole with a catch basin grate?
Yeah, so everything would drain to this oil grit separator that's already installed. The swale here that you're referring to is an overflow. So this would only come into play in an extreme storm where the water wells up to an elevation of 219.4, and then it would overflow into the swale and into this basin, into the outlet. And the idea here is this elevation is lower than this side of the road. So it would allow a relief before the water welled up enough to overflow into abutting property, which has happened in the past.
It still has to clear the curb there on the left, on that upper side of that plan though, right, of the street?
Here,
Isn't there a curb along there still? Gonna stay?
No.
No curb? Okay, I
I
couldn't
think that's the
remember.
right-of-way line.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that's just the right-of-way line. That dark
Correct.
line.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So the lighter line, this is the edge of pavement here that I'm tracing, and that's just pavement, no curb.
Okay.
Okay, Mike, you said you had a couple other questions?
Yeah, so Sean, could you roll it up a little bit towards the area that's gonna be regraded, that's delineated there? Okay, so if it is the line, the dark line on the outside, the siltation fence, and it's gonna be graded within that, or is it above that and you're trying to protect that sloped area? Because I was reading the narrative and talked about protecting the slope with sedimentation barrier and controls during the regrading, but it's the area within that that's being regraded, correct?
That is correct. And the reason why we're continuing the sedimentation barrier around that area to be regraded is to minimize the run onto that regraded area. So we don't get sheet flows that could potentially erode the slope before it takes hold.
Okay, could you zoom in to get an elevation reading at the far right side within that area? I thought it was a I can't remember, 250 something, right about
Yeah.
where that cursor was? Yeah, right about there.
250, 252 here.
Okay, and then if you go to the bottom where the riprap is going to be put in near the street, the drainage, just before you get into the basin itself, what are the contours down there, 217 or something, 215?
Yeah, so this is a 228 contour, a 226 contour, and then blending into what's already there, the 20, what is it, 24, 22, 20.
Okay, so it's roughly a, what was it, 250 something to 220? So about 20 something foot drop over a, whatever that distance is lengthwise. I couldn't figure it out because on digital plans, it can say 1 inch is 30 feet, but it doesn't really mean anything when you're done with the size the plan is, but you're looking on the screen. All right, I couldn't figure that. But anyway, so that's going to be flattened out though, correct? Is that what the narrative was saying? You're flattening this hillside somewhat to ease the flow?
Yeah. Yes, we're smoothing it out, and if you see here, there's kind of some tighter contours. The dash ones are the existing, so we're spreading those out a little bit to create a more uniform slope. The slope is going to be, I think it was approximately 12%, somewhere in that neighborhood. But also, I want to note, after this is regraded and loamed and hydroseeded, we are planning on matting it, jute mat, that'll help prevent any erosion until that grass takes hold.
So, well, I'm just, having gone up and down Candlelight a number of times to look at the basin and to look over at Silver Lake Road with the commission on walks. Again, I'm just sort of mentally remembering, visualizing. I looked at the photo that was included with this, which did show the rain coming down the road and so forth, which give you a little reminder what it looked like. I'm just trying to picture how you're flattening that out with a 20-foot something drop right now to be anything. Is it going to be like a bowl effect? I mean, it doesn't go up and down and up and down. It pretty much comes downhill. There might be a few flight swales, but I'm just not sure how that effect would be mitigating the flow coming down the hill. And the second part of that would be, obviously, given the contour lines, how tight they are just to the south of, I guess it's the south, below where the bottom edge of the siltation devices are, that really has to be protected like crazy, because you're not changing the contours there and it drops quite steeply. Correct?
Down at the bottom here.
Yeah, right at the bottom along the, and up a little to the right more.
Yes.
No, up to the right, the other right.
Over in this area.
And going up along, continuing back to the right side of the plant. Yeah, that whole area, if you look at the contour lines, very tight there. I can only picture it being like you're sort of digging a bowl, smoothed out like bowl effect there, away from that sharp contour line to keep it from flowing up and over the top of that, correct?
Yes, and again, the reason for this regrading is to get rid of those swales that were put in there during construction. So that's what the whole idea of this plan is. And in doing so, we want to flatten might be the wrong word. I think smoothen, if that's a word, make the slope more uniform is really what we're going to be doing here.
Again, I probably have to go back out and look at where the swales are. About how many linear feet of swale are you removing in this reconfiguring? About 100 feet, 200 feet?
I think probably close to 200 feet.
Because it doesn't show those on there. I'm not missing that, right? It's not one of the finer lines that are grayed out, are they? The swales that are there now.
Correct. Correct. You can
Okay.
see a little bit of the contours, the way the contours are.
Right. Yep.
This is where the swale is. For the purpose of this plan, I froze that layer. I do have an existing condition, or the site preparation plan that shows that, if you'd like me to put that on.
Well, I just wanted to get a sense of it. I don't want to hold up the commission for that. My last question is directed to whomever is best qualified. So the devices that are used for silt and grit and so forth removal, do they do something with phosphorus removal?
No.
Okay, so my concern, maybe it's totally not necessary here, Mr. Chair, is you've got a large development with lots of lawns uphill from Silver Lake, which is already overly nutrified. And all of this stuff is going to end up in a basin, which is eventually going to flow out into Silver Lake at unknown levels during different times of the year, where it might or might not get more filtration. But if the phosphorus loading becomes an issue, there isn't any mechanical device I'm missing or something that actually would deal with it, is there?
I think what we're relying on is in the more frequent, lower intense storms, we will still get some measure of infiltration. But in the large storm events, there is no provision for phosphorus removal.
Right, so I'm maybe overstating it, but I remember the visuals that somebody provided for us of Silver Lake, and over the last 20 years or so, how much of it's grown in, especially at the north end of the lake, near this end of the lake. And I can't believe that, you know, we wouldn't want to try, if there's some way to do that, mitigate the phosphorus. Are we mandated by the state to try to minimize that, or the developer to minimize that?
Well, under the pilot program for EPA Region 1, based on the fact that part of the town's within the Charles River watershed, the simple answer is yes. But I believe that's only for North Bellingham. This is in the Blackstone River watershed, so I don't know if there's any specific provisions on that. In the north, we are mandated to. Maybe that's something we can investigate.
It's not yet. Blackstone River Basin doesn't have a TMDL. They have general nutrients and I'm gonna forget what it's called. Nutrients and bacteria. Oh, whatever. It's not a TMDL, so it's not as strong. It's sort of like a recommendation. But the other thing is understand that this project was approved before MS4, long before MS4. So the basin would not have been designed for MS4 removal. To ask to have it changed now would be a significant increase, almost double the size.
All right, well, I'm not trying to make more problems, but I'm also thinking about the problems we already have with Silver Lake and the fact that the commission / town pays for de-weeding in the Silver Lake every year. And if we're adding potentially to a loading problem that's already existing from the neighbors that are right around Silver Lake by a neighbor that's not right next to it, you know, and also didn't want to get in trouble with the state. I didn't realize it was a town was split watershed wise. That's interesting to know. That's the first I'd heard that. I just think Bellingham has to do the pilot program, therefore all of Bellingham does, but it's interesting to know these differences. But still, I'm just now thinking more about the lake and the issue of the lake itself. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, so I don't have any good suggestions, but a little bit of a concern there.
Well, if anyone is aware of some sort of improvement that could be made that would address that, I understand your point. We do not want to be putting water into the lake that could, you know, exacerbate the weed growth problem we already have. Maybe it's something that I know Sean could consider. I did want to mention one more thing before we move on to the next hearing, and that's that I believe that BSC is in the process of signing an agreement for oversight during the construction. Is that true?
Yes, so we have been asked by the Zoning Board of Appeals to provide, essentially it's sort of like SWIP inspections during the period of construction, which is roughly going to run from April to probably the end of June. The construction is supposed to be done by the end of May, but they want to make sure it stabilizes appropriately. And that would be essentially weekly inspections until the work is done. And during the last month or so, it might be when we get a 1/4 inch of rainfall. So it might be maybe another few inspections if it's a heavy rainfall in June. So we're going to be doing that. A couple things. I'm involved in another project in an area where there is phosphorus. And the two items that were suggested to us to address were holding the first 1 inch of runoff. You can't do that if you can't infiltrate it, and that isn't going to work here. We already tried that, and obviously we've got high groundwater. There are some other smaller things, you know, put in some tree wells and stuff, but really that's a very small amount of phosphorus removal. And I'm not sure with the slope and stuff that would be something that's reasonable right here. And so again, off the top of my head, I don't know of another major way to remove the sediment other than doing, like as Don said, a major rework of the entire basin, which I think is beyond the scope of what we're looking at here.
And Chairman, we actually did receive that executed scope for BSC's construction review and the payment in full.
Okay, excellent. So what we'll do is we will condition the project in such a way that, that the contractor must respond immediately to any concerns that our oversight managers have. What we don't want to see is we don't want to see a report come out and then the next week, same item on the report, and then the next week, same item on the report. What we're going to do is we're going to need whoever's doing the actual field work to be responsive to any of the deficiencies that are discovered, by our monitoring team. Okay, so I guess the next question I have, we'll look for a continuation date.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of it. So I have gone through the report and materials. I did look at the O&M section very quickly. I'll be writing up responses. In general, I think Sean has done a great job in responding to all the comments. A couple of very minor items that might want to just take a quick look at. One is the swale, sorry, the riprap swale going down from the basically the regraded slope. I didn't see it in the detail, but I wonder if there could be some kind of like a energy dissipator at the bottom of that. The way it's drawn in the plan, it comes down the hill and it hits into the basin. The water is going to be slowed down in the riprap swale, but it might just be a little thing at the bottom of it, a flat area where the water comes down, the energy is dissipated, and it flows into the sort of the forebay of that basin. I looked quickly, so it may be there, but I didn't see the sort of check valve noted in the O&M plan. And again, maybe I missed it, Sean, but I think that should be included in there as well.
Okay. Yeah, we may have missed that.
And then maybe to answer, sort of respond to Mike's question, I think the slope right now has several areas that channel water, collect a lot of water, it runs down. That water is eroding, and those marvelous, I don't know, 1 foot high stone berms or whatever is supposed to maybe slow it down. I think the idea here would be to grade it so that the water is dissipated, not concentrated anywhere. If you look at sort of to the right of where we're looking at, there's some relatively steep slopes. When it rains, water runs down that, and because it's not concentrated, you don't get that slope. I think the key here is going to be during construction and right after, that area gets stabilized so channels do not form. If they form, they need to be addressed very quickly so you don't have that major erosion. And then the other thing I mentioned last meeting, I looked at the new catch basin that's been added. I was a little bit concerned that the elevation is only maybe a half an inch different than the double grate. And then I went back and looked at it, and I realized that right now that existing oil gas separator basically gets everything. It gets the water that runs down the Candlelight Lane and turns the corner. It gets all the runoff down Silver Lake Road. We're now adding 2 more catch basins, a double grate and a single. We're picking up a lot of the water that goes down there. And we've now got separate routes. One goes into the detention basin. One would bypass that area and go into the oil gas separator. One would go into the new catch basin that has its own discharge. So I think we're providing, this solution sort of provides additional ways for the water to basically get dissipated from this area and alleviate the flooding. So again, I think I don't really see any major issues with this. I'll put that in writing. And those couple of items, I think maybe Sean can take a look at so he can address them for our next hearing.
Yep.
Okay, so Frank, what's your time frame on this? Do you think you could have this ready for our next meeting on the 24th?
Yes. Yes, not a problem.
Okay. In that case, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just to clarify, so one thing that was mentioned, I was speaking with the project team today, and so I just wanted to bring this up to put it in the commission's ear, if you would. I understand the commission's policy of not sharing a draft decision beforehand. One of the concerns from our attorney was this is pretty complicated. in that there's an existing superseding order as well as an existing order of conditions, and this notice is kind of combining the two. So we just wanted to suggest that when the commission does draft a decision on this, that be reviewed by town council and then as well as our council, so they can make sure everything's covered. Again, I know it's not your policy, but I wanted to suggest that and throw that out there.
Okay, well, in terms of procedure, a notice of intent was filed with the commission to correct deficient drainage issues. That's what we're going to be writing a permit on. I'm happy to bounce anything we do off the town council, but I don't want Jeff Roloffs to be looking at it and start tweaking our words and maybe changing the meaning of what we're trying to do. So I think
Understood.
that it's the commission's policy that, and you're well aware of it, we're happy to submit it to our town council for review. But what we're doing here is we're writing a corrective permit, if you will. It has no bearing whatsoever on any other part of the project, none of the other drainage structures, none of the other construction, none of the phasing. This is strictly to correct the deficiencies of this one structure.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
No problem. So again, I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of February 24th at 7:20.
Moved. Second.
Okay. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, by unanimous vote. Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Very
Sean.
much. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
You will.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you for your cooperation. We're finally, after all these years, getting something I think that we can all live with.
And that's the goal. Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, so we have run over by a few minutes. We'll make sure that we add those on so that we're not shortchanging anybody. Okay. Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, on the notice of intent for the proposal to construct a new access roadway, improvements to existing roadways, stormwater management facilities, utility improvements, including a pump station located within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, including proposed alteration of 150 square feet of bordering vegetated wetlands located at Assessors Map 45, Parcel 56, North Main Street, Mill Street, and Common Street, Bellingham. Mark Allen, Allen Engineering Associates, Hopedale, Mass. has submitted the filing on behalf of Dennis Frame, Town Administrator, 10 McKing Street, Bellingham. The continuation will be held via Zoom on the evening of February 10th at 7:30, but we will extend for an additional 8 minutes to accommodate overrunning the first hearing.
Good evening, Mark Allen with Allen Engineering here, representing the town of Bellingham on the municipal improvement project behind Town Hall and the extension of Common Street. You'll recall from the last hearing on January 27th, there were a handful of items that the commission had asked us to look into, and we have gone out into the field, into the snowy field, and done some additional topo out on the property. And we have also provided a few exhibits for you tonight. We just kind of wanted to go through those few items with you tonight, just on a cursory level, just to let you know where we are. The first item in a letter that was dated today that we sent over, just to keep you in a loop as far as the stormwater basins evaluation go. We have had the opportunity, like I say, to go out and do some topography behind the Walgreens and extend that topography down to the wetland area. And we have great news, and I think this is just the beginning of the great news for the commission for this project and the one behind us. But we did find an area that would be able to handle stormwater that the MS4 requirements that the town of Bellingham is looking to mitigate. I don't know if it's if I can share my screen with you. It's a lot easier just to kind of show you on the plan view.
Yeah, Jim, would you allow Mark to share the screen? Okay, you're all set, Mark.
Right, yeah, all set.
Okay. All right. Let me try to figure it out here. Is that being shared?
Yep,
Yes,
that looks good.
yeah.
Okay. I'm glad it is on your end. Let me see if I can't widen the screen here. So the area of concern was down in this area behind the Walgreens, highlighted in red. That's a second basin in addition to the first basin that we've had previously before the commission in this location. This drainage basin allows us to handle all of the MS4 subcatchment areas that CHA has been working with the town to try to mitigate. And I'll kind of zoom down to the next exhibit. This area here, this long area that goes all the way down to Parter Drive and basically at the elevation of the water tower on South Main Street. From that point heading south and the areas on or at the intersection all will be going to this new basin. Previously, this large area could not fit into the one basin, but now that we've added a second basin, we can now split the town hall's stormwater as well as the off-site mitigation for South Main Street. So the red arrows kind of show half will be going into Basin 2, half will be going into Basin 1. Very similar shape, a little bit bigger in size, but we were able to run the hydrology that CHA provided us, and we're able to capture it in this location. We've designed that basin with 3-to-1 slopes, interior, exterior, so we will not be needing any sort of waivers for slopes of the basins. And the other benefit is that on the first basin, now that less water will be going to it, we've actually eliminated the 2-to-1 side slope on the back end and have mitigated that or brought that into compliance with a 3-to-1 side slope. So this basin will actually get a little bit smaller due to the fact that this will be a 3-to-1 slope, but it does handle all of the MS4 subcatchment areas that the town has been looking to mitigate. That kind of takes me through the second item, the subcatchment area I've already went through. The third item in our letter was the replication area. You may recall that the replication area was previously called for in an area of a lot of Phragmites off of Mill Street. And the commission and BSC group had mentioned that an alternate location that wouldn't be inundated with invasive species might be a better option, so we did move it to this location here. You may recall in our site walk, this is kind of where we kind of traversed the slope, and that's where we began our site walk. It used to be the location of where the outfall was prior to pulling the basin away 25 feet. It's a very flat area. There are no invasive species, and Sage Environmental has agreed with that location. So we were able to capture that and move that rest wetland replication area to this location. The last item that we evaluated was the culvert system underneath Mill Street, at the end of Mill Street. And let's try to pan up here.
Mark, could you enlarge that a tad?
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Take your time. You got 7 extra minutes.
That's true. I might have to go get my 13-year-old here.
Mark, top center.
Top center.
Plus minus.
Ah,
I'm trying to move my cursor.
Jim is the best. Jim knows what he's doing. Oops, that's too much plus.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So we have evaluated all of the flow that comes into this wetland, this large wetland area behind Town Hall. Everything that comes into it off-site from the south and off-site from behind Town Hall through these 2 new basins and a little bit of the slope that comes from off-site for the Red Mill subdivision. And we ran the calculations through the existing stream and through the existing culvert. And lo and behold, the 15-inch pipe does handle the 10-inch storm event today in today's scenario, but it would not handle the 25-year storm event. So we're going to recommend that pipe, instead of running a parallel 15-inch pipe, just simply replace it with an 18-inch pipe at the proper slope, and that will handle the 25-year storm event. It will actually capture that not only in today's event, because it's kind of undersized in today's no build scenario, but even in post-construction, the 18-inch will provide that capacity to carry that large wetland area. One of the other another item we looked at based on our conversation was the existing head wall and the existing splash pond, the riprap splash pond. In talking with Sage Environmental and with our working session this week with Ann, we basically, we're going to recommend that, since it's a clean riprap, just that by hand, just go in and remove any woody vegetation that's grown up through the existing stone riprap. We don't want to get a machine in there or a bobcat in there and do more damage to the BVW, because the BVW actually comes right up to the culvert's edge, as opposed to having a drainage basin outside of the wetlands. It's actually the beginning of the wetland. And to that end, we're also going to recommend that when we put in this new 18-inch pipe in this location, that we pull back the new head wall with an 18-inch pipe about 10 feet, just to allow a little bit more riprap and splash pond before it gets to the BVW. So that's that as far as the municipal side. I think that's what the commission had asked us to look into at the last hearing. Any questions you may have, please feel free.
Well, you got them all.
No, that's excellent.
You got them all. So I think that once of course, now you're going to provide the details.
Yeah.
And I know that our peer reviewer will take a look at the calculations, but I'm confident that you've got the size of the pipe correctly.
Yeah.
I'd like to, and of course you'll have details for the wetland replication area, but
Yes.
based on the contours, it's relatively flat there. It's an area that's previously undisturbed, so I think that's definitely headed in the right direction.
Mhm.
And I'm especially pleased with the second basin and being able to capture all of the 4 subcatchment areas that the town was looking to have captured. I'm just wondering, now, of course, it's our job to always try to minimize impacts, and this is just a question to see if it might be possible to extend that basin, let's call it Basin B. If it's possible to extend it a little more to the south, even though it would mean more excavation, to minimize the size of Basin A, because it's really jammed in there between the road and the resource area. So any additional space we get would be advantageous. I mean, do you think that's possible?
For the first basin, Cliff, or the second basin?
For the second basin, if you could cut into that grade a little more to extend that basin to provide a little more storage capacity to minimize Basin A, the first basin, because it is really jammed in there tightly. And the other question I had, and I'm not sure, there's that existing basin next to the building and the parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah, that basin there.
Mhm.
Jim, does that ever hold water?
Oh, yeah.
It holds a little bit of water. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
There's a lot of infrastructure going to that basin, Cliff. In fact, out in the area of the new, I guess, grass areas and paver area, those 2 catch basins connect into the catch basins in the town hall parking lot and weasel in between sort of that garage structure and the town hall. So it definitely gets water. Whether or not it holds it for a long time, maybe not the case because of the gravelly material.
Could be, because I don't see it holding water. And my thought processes there was, if it really doesn't hold water, then that might be something that exclude from your calculations, but you can't do that, so.
Yeah, we've incorporated it into the calculation. So it's ironic. This town hall portion, just to add another layer of hydrology analysis, was done by tie and bond. So we've kind of married in the tie and bond hydrology for town hall, the CHA for offsite improvements, and our own hydrology for collecting them all.
No, well, hopefully too many chefs don't spoil the broth.
Exactly. Two minor, not minor things, but two things just to bring up. And I appreciate, letting us know we captured all of your concerns. We will be looking into one more item in this area here. The post-condition runoff from the entire site, if you recall, and Frank probably recalls, there's a very, very minor, increase in flow to this evaluation point due to this new cul-de-sac and the new pump station. So we will also be evaluating adding sort of an infiltration trench in this location just to mitigate a very, very minor increase in peak rate and peak volume.
Okay, because I know on the access road further to the east, you've got a couple of catch basins just outside of that proposed basin. That plane is pretty busy, but maybe it's there.
Yes, these two here.
Okay, so anything to the east of that's going to be captured and brought into the basin. So
Correct.
you're just talking about the new cul-de-sac in that
Pump station.
the pump station. Okay.
Exactly. It's a very, very small delta. It's a large drainage area that goes into the wetland. So there's just a little small fraction of an increase in overall peak and volumes. So we're pretty confident that we can design an infiltration trench to mitigate that small delta.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And again, once you get the details, Frank will be taking a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if you could, I think you see what we're asking on that other basin. Anything you can do to capture more water in basin 2 might allow you to minimize basin 1. I think we all agree that the concept here is ideal. If it's possible to do it, it would be even better for the commission because we'd be minimizing immediate impacts. So.
We did just so you know, we did hold the 25-foot no disturb, and we regraded it at 3-to-1. So it already kind of cut into the volume of that basin just by eliminating any need for a waiver request on the backside slope of this basin. But I'll just verify that we can't squeeze it down a little bit further because of taking all of the water from the MS4 requirements.
So was some of the water from the MS4 originally going into that basin?
Yes. Two of the 3 subcatchment areas were going into that basin. We pulled both of those and put them into the new basin.
That's really good. Yeah, and so I guess my question is there's no other way to get some of the town, the tie and bond drainage into basin, the second basin? There's no way.
Yep. No, great point. So I actually did capture two subcatchment areas, 2 areas of drainage in this location, Cliff, that go into a catch basin here and a catch basin here.
Mm-hmm.
So I did pull off 2 small areas and diverted it to this basin that Ty and Bond had done. So I did eliminate a portion of the parking lot in Town Hall and did shoot it over to this new basin.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't imagine, because the rest of it goes to that newly constructed basin. The other catchment areas, and forgive me, I don't have the map in front of me, but so if the new mini common, the parking area, the building itself in the rear parking lot, yeah, all of that has to go into the basin.
Correct, just by elevation alone. So basically you split the common area, split the town hall roof, and then all of the rear parking area has to go into this location back here.
Okay.
It's just too low.
All right.
Maybe a suggestion, Mark, and if you could put together a graphic that might show where the existing areas are now, where they were going, and what you're redirecting to the second Basin B, that might be helpful to demonstrate that it's being
Yeah.
reduced to Basin A.
Absolutely. So as part of the hydrology analysis that we'll, revise our 437-page report, it'll show all the existing condition subcatchment areas and the post-condition subcatchment areas, and you'll see it in HydroCAD and on plan form.
Okay, good. Well, I don't know if Don DiMartino's still here, but I'm sure he's going to be very pleased with this because we sure as heck are. Good. Well, this is why we conduct project review.
We got a thumbs up from Don.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chair, a quick question.
Yes.
For Mark, for Basin B or 2, whatever you want to call it, the newly discovered one, have you guys, that's an infiltration, not a detention basin, correct?
Correct, yes.
Have you guys done a groundwater analysis? Ground's frozen. You weren't looking at that area before, were you?
No, so we'll have to go out and do a confirmatory test pit, but what we did is we basically evaluated it as the same elevation as this basin, took similar soils for infiltration rates, very, very conservative, the 2.4 inches per hour, and we guesstimated the same depth to groundwater as was in this basin.
Yeah, the depth of groundwater is a concern because it's great.
Correct.
It looks great on paper, but if it turns out for some reason that area, the groundwater isn't the depth that it needs to be to do the infiltration, then we got less desirable outcome, hopefully.
Correct.
At that point. But I guess we won't know that for. At what point in time could you get those results as part of your analysis?
We will have them before the hydrology analysis report gets revised.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you extrapolated them at the same elevations, and that's usually good for a rule of thumb, but I think Mike's point is well taken, and Mark is already anticipating doing that. So yeah, we will be getting that information, Mike.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
Excuse me, Mark, I know it was nice to see the catchment area called out there on South Main Street. Where was that water going before? Was it just kind of going every which way when it got down to the intersection?
I believe it headed north, Don, and if Don's still with us, I believe the
Charles River.
Yeah, the current infrastructure shoots it towards the Charles River, heading beyond the plaza.
So it gets picked up in that plaza drainage system and run down to the Charles?
I believe so.
So it's
I
a
believe
major
so.
improvement.
So we're basically intercepting like, I don't know, 5 to 7 acres of MS4 water and capturing it before it, builds up a huge head and heads down to the Charles River.
It's a big deal.
Great, thank you.
All right, so any other questions? Good. Okay. There's not a whole lot of additional review for Frank, I don't think. But of course, what we're going to, yeah, I mean, he's right. We will have to see the soil test beds. What are we anticipating here for continuation?
I think it would be wise as last meeting just to sort of run it concurrently with the abutting project, just so I'd say, another 2 weeks just to kind of keep them both on the same track, or whatever the next public hearing is.
Oh, okay. I think there's less work to do on this one than there is to do on the actual Red Mill site.
Correct.
We may
Just
not.
to the first meeting of next month.
I was thinking along those lines, but I just want to make sure everybody has enough time to provide and review information. Do you think that might be more reasonable?
Yeah, I do. Especially getting the test pit done in the tundra snow-like conditions.
It's creating havoc for us in a couple of other sites, though.
I bet.
All right, so if that's the case, then what I'll do is entertain a motion to continue the hearing for the North Main Street, Common Street Access Road to the evening of March 10th at 7:20.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, by unanimous vote.
Except for me.
Oh, that's right.
Except you.
Okay, let's, a point of order here. Ariane did not vote. I forgot to ask her to recuse herself.
I was confused. I thought it was a separate project. because of
Okay,
the
no,
portion that
it's,
was talking about.
yeah, essentially.
So
it's
I recused myself belatedly.
Okay, but you did not vote, and so I think that that's okay.
Okay.
All right. Where is next? I think Mr. Allen will appreciate the reading of the advertisement this time. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with Mass Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the notice of intent for the proposal to construct roadways, associated utilities, and stormwater management system for the residential subdivision entitled Red Mill on the Charles, consisting of 109 single-family dwellings and 54 townhouse units. The proposal includes alteration to bank, to border vegetated wetlands with proposed replication, land under water bodies and waterways, and alteration to the riverfront. The proposed project is located at Assessors Map 51, Parcel 13, Mechanic Street and Mill Street, Bellingham. Mark Allen, Allen Engineering, Hopedale, Mass. has submitted the filing on behalf of Kevin Lobiser, Snowflake LLC, Charles View Road, Hopedale. The continuations will be held online via Zoom on Wednesday, February 10th at 8.
And I recused myself from this one as well.
Right on time, okay.
So good evening, Mark Allen again with Allen Engineering, here with Kevin Loberser, the applicant, and Mike Dryden from our office, who's been doing a ton of work on the project with me. And we just wanted to respond to a letter from BSC Group, which came in between the last meeting and this meeting. So I think we were all coming to the same conclusion on a bunch of items. So I think it's going to be all good news here on this front as well. We had an informational meeting with Ann and Jim earlier this week to kind of go over our direction as to how we're going to proceed with this part of the NOI, specifically towards the riverfront area. So we did shoot out a letter with a couple of exhibits today, which we gave Ann and Jim on Monday of this week. But just to kind of go through those with you and kind of at a high level show you exactly where our current approach is going, we're going to, in the sake of time and snow and looking at grains of sand and roots and piles of
Field work.
field work in the winter, we're going to take the approach that this is brand new construction and never been touched. And we're going to go under Section 4 as opposed to Section 5 under the Wetlands Protection Riverfront bylaws. So if I could share my screen again, Jim, I kind of show you a couple of the exhibits that we put together for you. Okay, I think we got it running. So the first exhibit basically shows you where our progress has been with the riverfront area. We wanted to basically, as you know, new construction rules are basically 10%. It's a very mathematical approach. It's basically 10% of the area that you have on the property, excluding stormwater controls. So we've actually mitigated a bunch of areas on site. We previously had 13, I think 0.5% of calculated riverfront area altered. So we dropped that 3.5%. It did result in one major change, and to the detriment of the applicant. We have lost 3 lots in this area the riverfront area, and we have now sort of looped the road upon itself as opposed to providing another 350 feet of road through that riverfront and 3 additional single-family house lots. So the infrastructure shortened, and the single-family homes has lessened by 3. Other areas that we also sort of captured in removing the 3.5% of riverfront area was we extended this retaining wall along the south side of the crossing so as to minimize impacts to the riverfront area. And other areas that we minimized were off grading to the basically the riverfront area associated with the Charles River on the opposite side of the train tracks. So those 3 areas got us under the 10% threshold for new construction mitigation. So I won't dive deep into the letter report that we provided you, but that is the gist of our direction we want to go with, and we want to sort of take that same approach with the other outstanding items on the project. One of the other outstanding items of the project is the buffer zone impacts. And we put together an impact analysis for you and sort of color-coded all of the buffer zone impacts. In red, you'll see, I'm going to zoom in here. In red, you will see that we have obvious impacts at the 2 stream crossings associated with the stream, the road, and 1 small area just so we can get the elevation of the basin to get into the offsite wetland area in this location. So we've reduced the buffer zone impacts on this project by 20 to 30% from the original design of the subdivision, and the majority came from again pulling out of the riverfront area along the corridor of the unnamed stream. One of the items that this image doesn't capture is there is no replication associated with this stream crossing. This will be removed, and it's actually less impact in the 0 to 25 foot area. We just miscalculated the amount of BVW altered. It's actually land underwater as opposed to BVW, so that will be removed, and it's another savings that we don't have to cut trees to plant trees in that location. So the total buffer zone impacts have decreased significantly. And we've also, before I get ahead of myself here, we've also proposed some mitigation to these buffer zone impacts. So the areas in red of about 17,000 square feet, 18,000 square feet represent the impacts to the 0 to 25 foot buffer zone with the wetland crossings and 1 outlet. Mike Dryden has gone through and he's kind of scrubbed the entire site and tried to find areas that we could replicate the existing vegetation on site and replant in areas that have been previously altered in buffer zones. And he did find an equivalent amount of about 18,000 square feet associated with different vernal pool buffer zones. And we're going to propose, planting in kind in those areas.
I don't mean to interrupt. You don't, by any chance, happen to have a concept plan to that, do you?
I do. Let me just make sure I do. I don't want to lie here.
I mean, I don't want to get you off of your.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, if you're going to get to it, we'll get to it. Okay.
Yep. So this plan, as it regenerates, is the new layout. You'll notice that there's very little impact to buffer zones in this location. With this, what we call sort of a lollipop road layout as opposed to a paperclip layout, which extended down and kind of came upon itself. So the big savings was riverfront area. We were able to pull the basin out of that location, eliminate 3 single-family house lots, and provide a better overall plan for the riverfront area. We do also want to note that as you know, the 40% of open space is being retained in perpetuity. We've actually provided about another 6 acres of open space upon that. So we want to just let the commission know that we've heard the concerns and try to maximize the amount of space that we can preserve in perpetuity in open space. And that open space, that permanent open space will capture 75% of the on-site buffer zones, all of the vernal pools. It'll capture all of the isolated wetland areas. It'll capture all of the bordering land subject to flooding, all of the land that's associated with the floodplain of the Charles River. So, we think we've heard the commission, and we've sort of addressed exactly what the commission is looking for. This graphic, Cliff, as I think was where you were going, the proposed restoration areas. We found this area in the back that is currently a former gravel pit operation with no cover. So we're proposing to mitigate areas along that area and areas along former cart paths that don't have topsoil to be planted with topsoil and have trees replanted in those areas. Another good couple of notes to point on drainage analysis. The commission asked us to look into the waiver requests, and I believe we had 3 waiver requests at the last hearing, and those pertain to alteration in the no disturb areas. And there was 2 waivers associated with sizing of basins for frozen ground condition and an additional 1 foot of freeboard. So we did go back to the drawing board, and we basically resized every basin, every outlet control structure, and we're confident we do not need either of the 2 stormwater management waivers. The only waiver we're going to request from this commission will be simply for the crossings of the roadways and work, to get in and out of the 2 crossing areas. We've actually increased the size of 4 out of the 8 basins. We've adjusted the orifices at the outlet control structures, so as to every basin will now have an extra foot of freeboard, and we'll be able to handle the frozen conditions. So we will be eliminating those 2 waivers from our NOI. Any questions the commission may have. What we'd like to do is obviously just get feedback on the information we're providing, and just let us know that's in the general direction that you wanted to see, and basically, without waivers, we can now go to our final set of design plans for you.
I think I think you've done excellent work on reconfiguring it and trying to mitigate the original impacts. I think that's excellent work. I mean, we have to see the numbers, but I think it's an excellent plan. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And we appreciate that.
You can thank Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, so I know that
You are welcome.
We just hope that this sort of speeds up the whole permitting process. We're not going to have to do the field work. We're not going to have to debate upon waivers. It's just basically a clean drawing with, very minimal impacts to the wetlands.
Yeah, I mean, there will be additional field work required. Obviously, we're going to have to go out and take a look at the areas where you're going to have your buffer zone enhancements.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure that they're appropriate for that. But that'll give you time to develop a planting scheme and a methodology. I think that generally speaking, we're headed in the right direction. And, just to be clear, I don't feel that the Conservation Commission has ever really been obstructionist. Yet we really do our very best to try to make sure that we're going to have a project that will be viable in the decades to come, and we're moving in that direction now, and I'm pleased to see that.
Yeah, I'm glad to see we've narrowed the gap between 99% and 100% on the plans. Sorry, had to throw that in there.
So, are there any other questions? I know Frank, our peer reviewer, hasn't really had an opportunity, and so it really doesn't what we'll do is, based on these concepts, you know, if our peer reviewer has some comments that might tighten the direction, that would be helpful. I think that in terms of much of what we've seen here, obviously, if we don't need waiver requests, that was a tough nut to crack. And from our perspective, you know, trying to anticipate what's going to happen in 30, 40, like we did with our earlier hearing, we're trying to look down the road and accommodate larger events so that, you know, in 20 years, the town isn't like, oh my God, how come they didn't size this basin properly because it's washing out? So this, you know, this is good. We're moving in the right direction, and you know.
Yeah, so with that knowledge and with the commission's sort of common acceptance of our concepts, we look forward to putting the nuts and bolts together on a set of, you know, 60 sheets, 60 plus sheets with this project, and the 15 plus sheets on the municipal side, getting all the new drainage reports over to Frank, and sort of hopefully putting together this last set of revisions, and sort of making sure we get crossed all the I's and dotted all the T's.
I will just make one little note. I did some preliminary review on my own on behalf of the commission for the basins. And I believe it's Basin 4. Basin 4 is in a water resource district. And so your test pit at the elevation for Basin 4 went down 120 inches. And that, I think, accommodated only 2-foot separation. We need 4-foot separation to groundwater. It might be, you might need to extend that test a couple more feet just to make sure that we have, because it's in a water resource district.
Yep. Yeah, this is.
But you can double check. You can double check.
Yep.
My calculations there, but that's the only. Everything else, all the holes look good. The materials look good, and I anticipate that there'll be no problem there. But you know, just to be sure.
Yep.
Which well is that for, Cliff?
I'm sorry?
Which well is that for?
The Water Resource District. It's across the Charles.
Yeah.
It's a zoning overlay district.
Yep.
So we have a well across the Charles. So it's not in the 200-foot area around the well, but it's just the town zoning water resource district.
Gotcha.
So,
thank you.
okay. So no further questions or comments? Then what I'll do is, in keeping with the applicant's desire to keep these two projects dovetailed, I know that this is one project with the planning board, but it's two separate notices of intent with us. But we can continue the concurrent review unless we get to the point where we're ready to issue a permit. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of March 10th at 8:15.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Okay. I don't think that was an objection. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, by unanimous vote. So Mark will be seeing you on March 10th, but I'm sure we'll be hearing from you much sooner.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take
you
care.
too.
Thank you, guys. Have a good
Good
night.
night.
all right.
Thank you.
Before we move to the next hearing, I want to I just want to mention the fact that our long-term conservation commissioner, mentor and friend, George Holmes, passed away this week. It's a sad one. And I know many of our members do not know him, but he was one of the original conservation commissioners in the Commonwealth, appointed right after the Conservation Act was enacted. Served as a longtime member, became conservation administrator for a decade in the town of Framingham. Came back and filled in here part-time after he was retired from Framingham. Highly competent and all-around nice guy. I'm going to miss him. And I know that our vice chairman had made a suggestion that maybe we come up with some sort of a way to memorialize his decades and decades of service. And I thought maybe we could consider, since the Conservation Commission, he was on the Conservation Commission when the High Street property was acquired. And the softball, he worked with the commission and the softball association because they were desperate to find field space. I thought maybe because it's our land, we wouldn't need to go to town meeting for any kinds of approval. Maybe we could go to the softball association and see if they would mind if we named a field after him. It's just a thought. So if people would consider it, and then, you know, maybe we can act on that this spring.
Cliff, question. What are the fields currently named?
There's only one field that's named. It's interesting. It's named for a select person, Betty Lowry.
I thought they were just High Street fields.
Well, the name on it's the High Street fields, but one field is named the Betty Lowry Field. She was a select person at the time and was really, not aggressive, but motivated to promote girls' sports. So she was driving the process to try to find a place, because at the time there were no softball fields for the girls. There were a couple of rundown fields around the high school, but they really weren't their own. And so, you know, Betty came up with the idea, approached the commission, worked with George, and through her efforts, the fields were constructed. No trees were cut. I know they've tried to expand in the past, and we told them, no, this is your footprint. So they have 3 fields there, and you know, we had a proposal at one point for a dog park, and we told them, fine, the dogs will have to go among the trees because we're not going to cut any trees. But I thought maybe it would be a worthy thing. So let's think about that. Now,
And George's nickname around town was Swampy, so.
That's correct.
it is, and you know, there is swamp on that parcel.
Well, we could put it in, you know, the George Swampy Homes.
We could do that. We could certainly
like his mafia name, you know?
All right. We are actually,
Minutes.
I see that Christopher's here. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, Chris. So what we're going to do is, if you don't mind, we're going to do a couple of little quick things of business, and then we're going to get to you early, if you have no objection.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Oh,
So, we have 2 sets of minutes. to review and accept. That would be the minutes of December 9th and the minutes of December 16th. Has everyone had an opportunity to peruse the minutes?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
I've been waiting for you, Mike.
Amy, are you online there?
Yes.
I tried again playing around with your Dropbox since you put all the stuff into the Dropbox there to make a couple of notes on the Dropbox thing and then post them. Is that something that you can just see those? Because there were a couple of minor things on there, but I can't see the posts on here. Now I'm looking through the minutes on, it was just for the minutes on the 9th. The other minutes, 16th look fine to me.
If we have any changes.
So what's your question, Mike?
Can you see if I posted some comments on the minutes of the 9th in the Dropbox? Who sees those when you say post? I've never done that before, so.
I haven't seen the comments, so I'm not sure about that. But what you could do, Mike, too, moving forward is if you have any questions or comments, you can certainly email me what your revisions would be, and I can make those prior to the meeting.
Yeah,
and
well,
then
I
bring
was
it to
only
the
looking
board.
at them about an hour and a half ago. So.
Oh, okay. Whatever you
Hey,
want me to do, just let me know.
Okay, well, one of them was really just an easy one to spot. Cause let me just scroll down. Hang on a second. I'll tell you what page it was on.
Wait a minute, it's been a whole hour. Why hasn't Amy gotten to it yet?
I really?
I know.
What's going on there? I think it was page 5. Hold on. Yeah, page 5 on the minutes of the 9th.
Okay.
It appears there's 2 roll call votes. One of which I
Yep.
say nay, and one of which I say aye. Were we voting on 2 different things? I'm not sure that was clear to me in that.
I don't have them in front of me right now, so we can take a look at that.
Okay. Because the motion was made by Sean, seconded by Neil Stanley, the Conservation Commission voted by roll call vote to continue the hearing for 24 Celestial, lot 72A to December 16th, and the order of conditions will be prepared. Sounds like one motion, right, Cliff?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's a roll call vote with me saying nay and Neil, Brian,
I
Sean.
think you agreed on the continuation, but not of preparing the orders, because I don't believe you wanted those two.
Right, okay, so I wasn't sure if that was why there were 2 there. Just the
Mhm.
way it was set up.
I can clarify that.
Motion. Okay, that's fine. And then for the other one I can find real quickly, one second. It was the one where they wanted to do the septic over. Let me just find it. It was
Actually, I think it's important that we do corrections of minutes during the public hearing.
Sounds good.
I think we need to do that rather than just post corrections and then have Amy pick them up.
Yeah, Amy will be inundated, she's got a lot of things to do, and we don't want to be burdening her.
But not only that, the commission should vote to accept the amendments, I think.
right, 1 second. Looking for maybe Clifford, you remember on this hearing, at this hearing, which was the one that had a septic that was being done on a hillside near the, and it was being
83 Lakeshore?
83 Lakeshore Drive.
Okay, let me see if I can find it on here. 83, where is it?
Holly Everett.
At 8:30?
Yeah, I'm trying, oh, it's late in the meeting, so it would have been further on.
8:30 is not late in the meeting.
Oh, that's right, yeah, I'm scrolling up on page 8. Anybody else sees it? Oh, here it is, okay. So page 7, make sure it's 7, yeah, page 7. Minor thing, the Lakeshore Drive hearing, the third to last sentence says straw wattles due to the grades were being put in. Silt fence and straw wattles were proposed due to the grades, and I know we were waddling our way to saying wattles instead of waddles. But
Okay.
Oh,
no biggie.
wattles.
Just caught my eye. What can I say?
Very good.
WATTLES, wattles.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
I don't know what you do about that, but you can change it whenever you want.
That's
All
good.
right. That's all I've got. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
All right.
How about the 16th?
16th looked fine to me. I didn't say anything on that to make. I'm good.
Anyone else have any questions?
Nope, my name was spelled right. I'm good.
That's good.
Saul Wade.
That's
All
good.
right.
Aim low, Sean.
You guys are good tonight. Being very kind.
You do very good, Amy. We appreciate it.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of December 9th as amended and the minutes of December 16th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, by unanimous vote. All right.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, Amy, for your hard work.
You are welcome.
Appreciated.
If you ever figure out the posting thing, let me know.
Well, we are a little early. If some abutter or interested party should ask what's occurred, we will give them a recap. That being said, the Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, on a request for determination of applicability with a proposal to remove 8 trees located within the no activity zone of the buffers, the no activity zone of the buffer zone at Assessor's Map 23, parcel 10-3, 3 Walker Way, Bellingham, and submitted by Christopher Dami of the same address. The meeting will be held online via Zoom on Wednesday, February 10th at 8:50. Christopher. I think you're on.
I was doing mute on my phone. I didn't see it in the corner.
Oh, okay.
So good evening. Yeah, so I would like to, discuss with you all tonight the removal of 8 of the trees. I don't know if you all have the packet that I sent with the pictures of where the trees are. They're just inside the erosion control line that was marked on the map, which really has demarked where my lawn stops and where the wooded area begins. They're not within the 50-foot buffer zone, so they're kind of in that space in the middle, but I understand it is still that no activity zone. And really, we're looking to, my wife and I, it's really the only usable spot on the property. We're looking to clean up the back to get a little bit more sunlight on the back of the house, mostly our deck, as well as these trees are, obviously haven't been maintained because they're, this property is fairly new, only 5 years old. But they drop a lot of debris into the yard. We get a lot of branches. So we're really just looking to clear that up, get a little light. And, there's four oaks, and I'm not sure what the other ones are. I know I think there's a small pine in there. So we wanted to discuss the opportunity we recognize we have the condition of compliance on the property and wanted to do this the right way and make sure we follow the rules and get the proper permission to do the work and see what concerns the board might have as well removal.
I'm going to ask a member of the board who may have their email open to go to that Dropbox and maybe open up the file for the determination of applicability. Do we have someone?
Yeah, I have that open.
And I have it up too. I can share it on the screen if you'd like.
Oh, okay, fine.
That will allow that, and that way you can take us through it step by step.
Host has disabled screen sharing.
It's coming.
You're good to go.
This is just my lot plan. Where this parcel here, I'm going to go into a little bit of a cutout, a zoomed in, where I marked. These are my measurements. I didn't have a surveyor, so I did my best civil engineering job to mark where I think these are based on the drawing. Here's where they would fall on the map. I think the next picture kind of gives a better feel for where they are. So the edge of the lawn, and you can still see just to the left of the number one, you can actually still see a little bit of the black cloth from the erosion control that was there that's somewhat embedded in the soil. So that really has demarked the line. And in this area, we'd like to take these trees down. And I talked to, Ann and I had a conversation earlier that, maybe planting something in place for what we're removing as an option. And my wife and I are obviously completely open to that. I looked at the list that when the builder had put it in, what some of the recommendations were, and I think some hemlocks would go well in that area to again continue to replace what we're taking out and get rid of some of these trees that kind of overhang the house and whatnot.
I think your last photo is pretty instructive. If you could get us to that last photo.
All right.
That one. You can kind of get a feel for the fact that, Ann and I were out on site, and you get a feel for the trees are growing to the light, and the light is where the house is. So the trees are growing that way. They may not present imminent danger, but in a few short years, there could be a problem there. I think that it's excellent that you're proposing to plant them with something else in that area. And I'm wondering about the possibility maybe of having you, if you're willing to do so, plant some high-bush blueberries. Blueberries have a lot of value for food sources for birds and small mammals and humans as well. And that might provide some sort of mitigation for the loss of full-grown trees.
Yeah, we're open to that. Get my kid out there picking blueberries in the fall or the summer.
Yeah, usually around July. So.
Yeah, whether it was, plantings from the list, which were hemlocks, of the ones I saw, that was probably my more preferred, but, I have no opposition to blueberries. We get deer. We love the wildlife and deer, and my wife, we have bird feeders up on the back of the house now. So, we definitely enjoy watching the wildlife from there.
Well, what does the commission think about this?
You want me to take the screen down so you guys can see each other, or do you need that? You want me to leave it up?
We'll recognize each other's voices.
We can see each other.
Can you plant both, hemlock and blueberry?
Well, he's taking out 8 trees.
Well,
so maybe.
Well, I seem to remember when we inspected this property when it was first done, weren't there a bunch of hemlocks planted on the side that got wiped out by the deer, or am I thinking of another project in that area?
That's a possibility. I know that some of the supplemental plantings that the original developer put in were eaten by the deer.
Yeah, it seems that there was a high mortality rate of some of those little plantings that they had put in.
Were those the 20 trees that are referred to on the original plan set that was also provided in this packet?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
I could hardly read it. I blew it up as big as I could, and it was just so blurry, the information in the top corner there. But I thought it said 20 trees were planted. So those trees were planted much further back in the site. They weren't any of these 8, I'm assuming, even the smaller ones, because this was only 5 years ago that it was finished. Was that 5 years ago?
Yeah, those were further back. Yep. Yeah, actually, we were 5 years Monday. We moved into the day.
And you're the original occupants, I take it, yes, for that house?
Yep.
just playing devil's advocate, did you not think that the trees in the last 5 years, they haven't grown up that much? Some of them are pretty big already, and for at the time that might be an issue with shading? Did you like moving in the winter or something when you didn't see the trees? Or has it just become more of an issue for some other reason?
Sorry, it was a little hard to hear part of that through the phone.
Sure, sorry, I'll say it again. So just playing devil's advocate, 5 years ago when you moved in, most of those trees that are in the view there, 1 through 8, maybe some of the small ones, like 7 probably wasn't that big, but some of those oaks were pretty full size at that time. 5 years, they don't grow that fast. Did you not anticipate that since they were in an area that wasn't supposed to be disturbed, that might not be, that might become a problem or be a problem?
No, I don't think 5 years ago we really didn't think about it. And honestly, we didn't, we hadn't thought too much about it. I think as we've lived here and got to know the house and the property that, we realized we just don't have a lot of sun on the back. And that's where our only deck is. You can't really see it in the picture. So that's when it really started coming up as, maybe if we can get some of these trees down, it'll give us a little bit more sunlight on the back of the house as well as clean it up. So I know there are further back in, I think some of those plantings are still there. And I didn't really go back and look. I don't spend too much time back in there.
In this view then, Chris, to the left of those trees, what direction is that to the left? Is that east or west?
That would be west because we're facing north, I think, on here. Did I put it on here?
Well,
We're to the east, so that would be the north side. The left side of that would be north.
Okay.
No, south.
Okay.
I'm all confused.
No, it's okay. The back
All
of your house to the front of your house is north. So 8765 goes toward the west.
Okay, so my question and thought was the view from the other direction seemed to show some big trees beyond it, further to the left in this view, in the woods a little deeper, that are pretty big. And the precedent we start by saying yes to this, to me, indicates that we could then potentially open the door to not necessarily you, but someone else in the area perhaps, or other areas, saying, oh, well, I know you let people cut within that zone, not because the tree is imminently about to fall in the house, because we have had situations where that certainly became a safety issue, and we did that, even if it was in an area that we wouldn't normally have wanted any activity. But just what if the trees beyond that to the right start shading the area, because they're going to in 5 years be even bigger? And, we've already said yes once. Does the commission feel that there's something about not setting a precedent that we have to state or something, that if we decide to go forward with that?
What I would suggest, Mike, is that the trees that you're referring to for the back, they're in the 50-foot no disturbance zone.
Right.
So that, unless
technically, isn't the 50 to 100 also a no disturb? No impact. What's the phrasing that we use?
The actual phrasing in the bylaw.
Yeah.
In the regs.
25 to 50 is no build zone.
Temporary disturbance zone.
And I just wanted to make a comment here. While on site, and I did notice that there were a lot of branches and stuff that had fallen from these trees when we were in Mr. Domi's yard. But looking further on where the basin is as well, there are some trees similar to this that had actually fallen down. I don't know if they're still down in that basin area. As you know, the town's maintaining that basin now, but I just wanted to mention that some of these trees are quite close. And we always look at trees that are leaning towards houses or, that could be providing or posing some kind of a safety issue to the homeowners. Obviously, we don't want to be responsible for, not taking this too seriously.
So, Mike, what we have here is the 0 to 25 foot is the no disturbance zone. The 25 to 50 foot is the temporary disturbance zone. And we have the final zone which is an area within the buffer zone in which most, if not all, legal activities and permanent disturbances are permitted. The permitted disturbance area may include the area from 50 to 100 feet, but the commission may impose smaller or larger permanent disturbance areas. So it's the permanent disturbance area from 50 to 100 feet by permit. So it's not subject to the same prohibitions. We have a lot more wiggle room when we're dealing with this kind of thing. So if he's cutting 8 trees and we get him to put in 8 high bush blueberries and 4 high bush blueberries and 4 hemlocks.
How big does a hemlock get when it's full grown?
Well, I'll tell you what, for a hemlock to reach the height of some of these oaks, it would take about 75 years.
Well, you know, how long, Chris? How long's your mortgage for, Chris?
Not
20.
not 75 years. I mean,
That's
I'm just kidding. All right, I'm done asking questions. I just want to raise a couple of points. I just want to make sure some thought had been given, at least that I had on it. But I'm done asking devil's advocate questions.
Yeah, I think also when we looked at this, I mean, we didn't want to, we really request what we thought was reasonable, and most of it I think you see is kind of within 8 feet of the edge of the lawn, nothing really deeper. We're looking to go in and really disturb, because I think we can remove these with minimal disturbance to the area.
I'm concerned that the folks on lot number 1 are going to want to clear some trees too.
well, it's
They never.
You know, we spent a lot of time permitting this when we permitted it, and here we are, you know, revisiting our permitting for aesthetics. I'm not sure that was our intent when we permitted it, you know, 7 years ago.
Well, a little more than aesthetics, right? And they're pretty close to his house.
yeah.
And they were when the house was built.
The lot 1 house has much more of a backyard. The trees are not that proximate. You know, it's pretty close. You're right. I mean, the trees were there when they moved in. It could be this kind of situation. I'll give you a perfect example. The trees near our house were there when we moved in. And it became readily apparent after about a few years that they had to be removed. Of course, they were 7 feet from the foundation, but still.
That was more than a few years, Cliff.
Yeah, it was more than a few years, you're right. Time flies, I'm having fun. Well,
I mean, obviously I can't speak for my neighbors, but I can, well, they're never here. They're in Florida. I actually do all their yard work. I mow their, take care of their property for them. So I know their grandson removed the one on the property in their yard. There was a danger, a big oak, but I don't think they're in any desire. They're both in their later years. I think they have 3 homes. They don't want to more work.
oh my gosh, 1 is enough. Well, so
Are any of these, I see on the original plan that that's a tree badged line. Are any of those trees actually badged?
They haven't been badged. When the day that the walkthrough was done by the commission, I actually had them all. All the badges had fallen out, and I had collected them, and I just need new ones to put up on the property in the back, if they're required. I mean, we're the only ones that look back there. There's not anyone. You know, there's no one coming back there. There's nothing behind us except for trees.
Those are for your benefit. we have those installed for the homeowners so that that doesn't become your yard waste dumping area.
Hi, Chris, can you hear me, or the commission as well?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I was just wondering if you plan to keep the area where you clear the trees natural, or if you plan to extend your lawn or anything.
Just the way it looks now, just with the trees removed. No, I don't want more lawn to mow.
That's great. I think that's great. Okay, that was my question.
Okay, so maybe what we can do is, rather than having the hemlocks, maybe we can have him put in 8 high bush blueberries, and that can be the trade-off.
I have no objection.
Okay, it's getting late, so what's our pleasure? Do we have a consensus?
If it matters, it's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
You'll have to hold your driver's license up. We've heard people say this before. Come on.
Yeah, everybody tries to get the free dessert.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I'll
I'd
tell
like
you.
to say something. I think the 2, 3, and 4 and 1 are definitely going to be hazards down the road if they're not already. So I'd say they'd have to be removed. So 8 blueberry plants is fine with me.
Yeah, I can go for either plan, the blueberries and the hemlocks. Either way is fine. I'm with Neil. I would love to see those badges back at the line. I really dislike how these always tend to disappear off of properties around town. I'd love to see those reinstated.
We'll make sure that Christopher will get a hold of Ian. We'll have the badges, and what we'll do,
Just pollard the trees.
I'm sorry?
Did you want to pollard the trees and put the badges back on the existing trunks or not? I'm just kidding. Never
It's not a
mind.
solar array.
Yeah.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing and issue a negative determination with conditions.
And the conditions would be,
Installation of badges and planting of either 8 high bush blueberries or 4 hemlocks and 4 high bush blueberries.
is that okay, Chris?
Fine by me.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Attention.
Abstention. Okay. Neil abstains. All right.
So we will have to get that permit issued. Christopher, I don't expect that you plan on doing this for a little while.
You're not going out this weekend to do this, are you?
No. I'm going to have Chair and Tree Service take care of it. But obviously with the snow on the ground, I'm sure that's throwing a wrench in theirs. But, he had told me, listen, I can't touch any of this until you get a permit in hand. So.
Okay, good. So that'll give us a little bit of wiggle room to develop the paperwork.
Okay.
All right. So Ian, you'll advise?
Yep.
Okay.
And Christopher, when you're ready to get the badges, I have badges I can give you to put up in the yard there when the time comes.
Very good.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
And happy birthday again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thanks again.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Thank you to Frank. We appreciate it.
Do we need anything signed at town hall?
Yeah, just this determination. I just have to get it done. Would you be able to meet at town hall?
Yeah, when will you have it done? I don't want to rush you.
Saturdays have been working.
Does Saturday?
Saturdays have been working for us.
Yeah.
Saturday would work
And
again?
since we aren't going out in the field, we can get together and sign paperwork.
Second best option.
Well, at least I don't have to come in for that one.
Oh. We could raise a cup of hot chocolate to good old Swampy.
Oh.
Oh,
Is-
9:30?
All
It
right.
worked out pretty well last time.
We can,
Yeah.
Or
Well,
9?
9's good.
9,
9 or 9:30?
I'm up.
we'll do 9.
9
Okay.
o'clock.
9.
9 o'clock.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Jim, thank you very much.
James.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care all. We'll see you in a
Hey,
couple weeks.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one quick thing.
Yes.
In line with the way of the world and how things have gone on other towns, other places, boards, committees, or whatever, I would like to have us think about changing the your title and my title to person.
Chairperson?
Yes, and vice chairperson.
I have no
I
objection.
like it.
I don't know what we would need to do to make that official, but I would like to see us, I would like to propose that we do that.
Is that being done townwide? Does Mr. Frame able to comment on that? I see he might still be online.
I second
the,
the motion.
I don't know if he's still there, but I know it's now the select board. The charter review commission is starting in March. And so we're going to be reviewing the charters and all of our bylaws as well. Yours might be spelled out in your regulations, perhaps, much like the planning board, but yeah, select board has now officially adopted that
We
too.
addressed that in our regulations because we,
How about the WPA?
I don't, it's our call, and in deference to our dispatch numbers, I have no
Can I,
objection to that.
can I investigate it? Just to make sure? Because
Yeah, I wouldn't want, we would want to make the change, official. So it would have to be done properly.
Okay.
So I'll see what I can find out. And if anybody else wants
Thank
to
you.
investigate, we may do that too.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
All right. All right. Good evening.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
very much.
everybody. Take care.
Good night.